Well, it is a beautiful day outside, but forecast for thunderstorms at 10 o'clock. So we're going to have to be quick, get down there and get shooting. I set the range up yesterday, put steel out at 50, 100 and just past 100, and I wanted to shoot low power and just get some practice in with the wind blowing the rounds around and stuff, and learn what it looks like when the grass is at a certain angle and how much that's going to push to just get some good windy practice in at longer ranges, because I don't do a great deal of long range shooting. Usually I sort of keep it under 50 meters, being that I shoot low power fairly frequently, but I really want to sort of have a more dedicated low power setup, and shooting at those longer ranges. I have a little 3-inch steel gong. It's either a 3 or a 4-inch, and I had that set up at about 103 meters. Put all the calculations in, hit it first shot, happy days on low power, but then shot number 2, shot number 3 off somewhere in the wilderness, and then shot number 4 landed back on it, and I'm just like, it's kind of sad when you can I can comfortably hit that over and over and over again with my bow if I want to, but I can't with my nice sort of quiet tune on the gun. So what we're going to do today is measure the valve gap for my high power tune, and then what I want to try is closing that valve gap right up just to where the just to where it hits on my lower power tune. So maybe knock 10 feet per second or so off the low end of the tune, and then be able to sort of bring that extreme spread, being that it's further away from the optimum tune. It sort of spreads the shot string out a little bit when you switch it all the way to lower power. So I figure if I can just close my valve up and just get it to touch on the top of that low power range of motion, maybe I can bring the top end of that extreme spread for that low power group down a little bit, and tighten those groups up, so that the only other variables that I will have to deal with, instead of an extreme spread of say 20 to 25 feet per second on a low speed tune, perhaps I can bring that down under 10, and then the only other things I'll have to worry about is wind, really. So yes, that's the plan for today. So let's do it. So my current valve gap is pretty well bang on 10 millimeters, so fairly close to wide open. Usually when I do the tuning on these things, I like to find a real tight balance spot so that the hammer spring flies forward and opens that regulator up just right without having anything stop it, and then I just bring this back just a smidgy in, just until it touches. So I'm not using any more pressure than I need to open that thing. So it's pretty well wide open now. So 10 millimeters, that's my hammer spring gap. I'm running about, I think I'm running 120 reg pressure, and whatever the hammer spring gap is, it's fairly wide open for the hammer spring gap. Because of that external power plenum there, it just makes so much more power that you don't really need much hammer spring preload at all. And then I'm getting about 900-ish on high power and about 750-ish on low power. So pretty happy with how it is now. I just need to tighten up those lower speed groups. So I've got it set to minimum hammer spring tension on the little hammer spring adjuster wheel, and we are going to go ahead and wind that little Baduba in until we can bring that group in a little bit. Right, so that didn't take too long. That was fairly simple. I brought it in a fair way. I had to give it a fair few little wiggly woos on it. Just measure it real quick to see where we ended up. So I ended up bringing it back down to 7.5 millimeters worth of valve gap, which is, it is what it is. It wasn't great with the super light hammer spring tension, so I cranked it up to number 1 instead of minimum, and then I cranked it up again to setting number 2. So I've just added a little bit more boot to it, so it's just a little bit sort of harder hitting into it. It seems like the harder it hits, the more consistent it is. but still having it only open so much, you sort of only want to be hitting that little ball as hard as you need to, not any harder than that. So pretty happy with where it is now. I'm getting, instead of getting a spread from say sort of 720-ish to about 745-ish, it's now all the way down to floating around between about 702 and 710. So much tighter spread, a little bit quieter, which is good, and a little bit lower speed, which I'm fine with. If I really wanted to, I could probably crank it up a little bit more and get closer to the 750 mark. But for the time being, this is sort of what I really want to do, because it's super easy now for me, not changing any hammer spring settings, to just open that bad boy back up to the 10mm valve gap, and hey presto, I'm back to my old tune, because I haven't changed anything else. So it's super easy to switch back to my old tune from where I am now. Whereas if I decide to do like a proper full-on hammer spring tune for the low end, I'm going to lose my nice consistent high end as well. So I think this is a good way to get super consistent low speed groups and only have to just measure that gap, wind her out, and then you're back up to your nice consistent full power groups as well. So yeah, that little valve thingy, Freddie, you've done well, my friend. I like it. I like it a lot. All right, testing time. Here she is, looking super nice. Could look at that thing all day, but we've got to shoot it too. So the range as it stands at the moment, we've got 25 meter target there, and then right up the back you'll see there's one at 98, that little torso target, and there's one off to the right of it, which is a little tiny gong. And I have also got a 50 meter gong, which is visible quite easily from the chair, from the point of view of the chair over here. So it's all worked out very nicely. Looking forward to it. Interesting stuff. We got 6 or 7 km/h winds blowing from behind us. So let's see how that goes. Seems like it's swinging from sort of, I guess, 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. So we might have to go down there and check down the end as well. But that little fan's spinning. Dad's here. He's come to pick up his gun. So we figured we'd take it down to the range as well and do a bit of shooting before we set off again. So it's performing very well.
Yes, because it's an FX. They always perform very well.
I'm just here checking zero at 25 meters.
Happy days. In the same hole. That's 6 shots. One of them, the second one was a bit high, but the others are all in the same little patch, sort of.
Let's go and have a looky, Lou.
First shot of the day.
That's looking pretty good. So that is less than.
Basically, number 1 was there, and that was number 2, and then the other 4, because there were 4 rounds, went in there.
Nice. So if you can train them to come to food,
then
it's not an issue.
My problem is my wife. She'll have them sleeping in the freaking bedroom, and I won't be able to eat them.
So, seeing as we were down on the range together, we figured we'd do up a little dope sheet for Dad's gun. So what we did was get zeroed and reset the turrets so that the little OptiZan turret was on 0. All you have to do that is to undo that little finger tightenable ring just above the little MRAD card that around the scope turret there, and reset it to 0 and then tighten it up again. It's good. There's no tools needed for that. So great little feature. And then once we got done with that, we stepped the target back out to 50 meters and then without adjusting the turrets or anything, we shot another couple of groups and then milled it with both of our scopes, and it turned out to be about 1 MRAD of drop. So we adjusted the scope turret and then did a group to check, and after we'd got that group on paper, we verified it because it was all in the nice little box where he was aiming, and getting about just under an inch, probably 3/4 of an inch at 50 meters. And important to note that this was a quiet tune for him as well. We're shooting on minimum power here, and after that stepped it out to 75 meters. Same deal again, got about 3.5 MRAD drop total, I believe, and then stepped it out to 100 and shot a group at 100. And his groups at 75 and 100 were really good. They were much better than mine. Those 30 cals are moving ever so slightly faster than what my super quiet tune is at the moment. I think they're going at about sort of 750 to 770 or something like that. So a little bit less consistent as far as extreme spread goes, but better on paper. So I think that might lead me to believe that maybe there's, I probably just need just a little bit more speed on mine, because I was struggling at 100. I was shooting tiny little groups at 50 meters. It was much better than it was before I did this morning's tune, but out past that sort of 75 to 100 meter mark, my groups were big enough that I couldn't hit reliably my small gong still. So a little bit of fiddling still to do. I reckon the plan from here, I think, next weekend when I've got some more time, I'm going to try and switch the liners, see if that makes any difference, get a bit more stability down the end, because it looks like it's only doing about 540 feet per second by the time it gets to the 100 meter mark, so it may be a little bit unstable if it's not quite gyroscopically stabilized enough, perhaps. Or the other option is crank the speed up a little bit, which I may end up doing as well, and I'll try that, and we'll do a vlog on that too. I reckon maybe somewhere between 770 and 800 if I do a fair amount of hammer spring and a fair amount of winding that little valve stopper in. Maybe I can get a short, sharp blast of air that's still nice and quiet, but that remains to be seen. So very happy with the way that Dad's gun performed though. Seems like on that low power setting, harmonics are mint. Very accurate all the way out to 100 meters and extremely quiet, and the shot count was ridiculous. We sat there and plinked away for quite a while, and I reckon he probably put 6 or 7 mags through it of 30 cal, which is a lot, and yeah, he only just fell off the reg right towards the end, and then we called it a day. So very handy, very good to kick it up a notch with that Mark 1 impact. Does a great job. If you've got a Mark 1 impact and you want a power upgrade kit, speak to Vladan. I'll put his email in the description. That's about it. That's about it for today. So if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to smash like, subscribe, all that sort of stuff. And I'll see you next time. Stay safe. Don't get sick. Love you. Bye.